Have you ever heard of a thief stealing a 300-pound inflatable cow? Or a whole beach? What about rare bird skins or ice chunks from a glacier? These are just a few examples of the weirdest things that have been stolen by thieves. From bizarre obsessions to lucrative black markets, the motives behind these heists are as strange as the stolen items themselves. So sit back and prepare to be amazed as we delve into some of the most peculiar cases of theft in history. Number 20. A giant inflatable cow. In the world of advertising, standing out from the crowd can be a challenge. But Chick-fil-A's Tempe location had a unique solution to this problem. A towering inflatable cow that stood at an impressive 24 feet and weighed a hefty 300 pounds. This giant bovine quickly became a beloved fixture in the area, even making appearances as the Arizona State University football mascot. However, the story took a dramatic turn when the inflatable cow was suddenly stolen, causing utter chaos among local residents and Chick-fil-A fans alike. While many were left scratching their heads as to why anyone would want to steal a giant inflatable cow, the culprit was soon caught and the cow was safely returned to its rightful home. Fortunately, there was a silver lining to this bizarre tale. A local chicken enthusiast who had helped in the search for the missing cow was rewarded with a year's worth of free Chick-fil-A sandwiches, becoming an instant hero in the eyes of the community. Number 19. A glacier. Global warming isn't the only threat to the world's glaciers, and an example of that was the shocking case that emerged when the Jorge Montt Glacier in Patagonia started losing ice chunks at an alarming rate. The situation sparked an investigation by the Chilean police, leading to the discovery of a heinous crime. Tons of stolen ice from the glacier were being transported to Santiago to be sold as designer ice for drinks. The culprits involved in this crime were charged with theft and defacing a national monument, highlighting the devastating impact that human activity can have on natural wonders. Number 18. A missing lawn. Coming home after a vacation is supposed to be a stress-free experience, but for one homeowner in Alberta, Canada, it turned into a nightmare. Instead of returning to a beautiful lawn, she found her once perfectly manicured lawn reduced to a barren plot of dirt. Who could have committed such a bizarre theft? After the initial shock, an investigation was launched. The authorities soon discovered that a local landscaper had gone to the wrong address and uprooted the wrong lawn. It was an honest mistake, and the landscaper took full responsibility for the error. The homeowner was understandably relieved that the strange incident was not a targeted act of vandalism, but rather a simple case of mistaken identity. The landscaper rectified the mistake by offering a free lawn replacement, and the matter was peacefully resolved. Number 17. The Feathered Heist. Edwin Rist was a talented musician and an accomplished flautist, with a bright future ahead of him. But his secret obsession with rare birds was eventually lead him down a path of crime and infamy. In one audacious heist, Rist stole nearly 300 preserved bird skins from the Museum of Natural History in Tring, England, setting off a chain of events that would shake the world of ornithology to its core. Rist's theft of the bird skins was not a crime of opportunity. It was a carefully planned operation. After breaking into the museum, he carefully selected his targets and made off with hundreds of priceless specimens. Stripping the feathers off the birds, he sold them on the black market where they were in high demand as decorations for fishing lures and other accessories. Despite his meticulous planning, Rist's scheme eventually came to light. Suspicious of the large number of rare bird skins appearing on the black market, authorities were able to track down the source of the theft and apprehend Rist. The ensuing investigation uncovered a web of connections and accomplices in the illegal bird trade, revealing just how deep the underworld of feathered contraband went. While Rist was eventually fined a staggering $160,000 for his crimes, more than 100 of the stolen specimens were never recovered. The incident shook the world of ornithology, raising questions about the security and preservation of precious birds collections. But even as the investigation into Rist's crimes closed, the dark underworld of illegal bird trading continues to thrive, posing a continued threat to the world's avian populations. Number 16. A live penguin. 3 Welsh tourists in Australia were living it up, and their adventures even took them to SeaWorld. But after a few too many drinks, they thought it would be a brilliant idea to sneak into the park after hours and take a dip with the dolphins. However, things took a bizarre turn when 2 of them decided to kidnap a fairy penguin and keep it as a pet in their hotel room. Reality hit hard when they woke up to find the penguin waddling around their room and decided to release it into a local canal. The confused bird was later returned home, and the 2 misguided tourists were fined $1,000 each while their accomplice faced trespassing charges. Get ready for our next story of a criminal with a sweet tooth taken to unhealthy extremes. Number 15. A lot of ice cream. In 2017, Tokyo was struck by a peculiar series of thefts that baffled authorities. The thief behind the heists only had one target in mind: sweets. From ice cream to chocolates and cakes, nothing was off limits. The unprofessional thief was caught on camera and left crumbs of evidence at every scene. The damage caused by a sweet tooth crime spree amounted to nearly $50,000 and earned him the moniker Sugar. In an odd twist, the only non-food item he ever stole was a pair of sandals, perhaps for comfort after his sugary binges. Number 14. Manholes. In 1990, Los Angeles was hit by a bizarre series of thefts. Manhole covers were disappearing from the streets. This was not only illegal but also highly dangerous for unsuspecting motorists and cyclists. After a thorough investigation, the police traced the stolen covers to a scrap metal yard. Unfortunately, only a fraction of the missing covers were ever recovered. It turns out that the culprits were hoping to sell them for scrap, even though they were only worth a measly 3 cents per pound. While stealing commodities is not unusual, this particular heist pales in comparison to the next one that outraged the entire state of Wisconsin. Number 13. 20,000 pounds of cheese. Wisconsin is known for its love of cheese, which is one of its top exports. However, in 2017, a truck driver got a rude shock when he stopped at a service station and left his trailer at a nearby facility, only to discover later that $46,000 worth of cheese was missing from it. The stolen cheese was never recovered, and investigators suspect that there may be an organized cheese theft ring operating in the area. Cheese lovers beware. Keep your cheddar under lock and key. Number 12. A random pair of shoes. Many heists involve stealing strange items, but one in Nanaimo, British Columbia was focused on something mundane. The perpetrator targeted a building that served children with autism and Down syndrome. Using a long stick, he reached inside the door and stole a random child's shoes. The staff and police were left wondering why anyone would be so obsessed with stealing shoes from a child. Unfortunately, this wasn't the only case of someone stealing from children in Canada. Number 11. A playground. Suncrest Elementary School was excited to welcome back their students in September 2020. However, they were surprised to discover that their beloved play structure was missing an important feature: the slide. Upon investigation, it was discovered that the slide had been completely removed using tools, leaving the rest of the play structure untouched. Unfortunately, there are no leads on the culprit, and it may have been taken up to 3 weeks before the school even realized that the slide had been stolen. While this heist was puzzling, other thieves had even more ambitious targets, including stealing entire buildings. Number 10. A Russian church. The village of Komarova was struggling with poverty and crime, and its local church had fallen into disrepair. A crew began working to repair the dilapidated building, but after a few weeks it became clear that their goal wasn't to restore the church. By the time an investigation was launched, there was nothing left of the church except for a few walls and the foundation. Investigators believe that the thieves likely sold the raw materials and religious artifacts. But if any of them are religious, they may be feeling guilty every time they hear thunder. Unfortunately, the business of building theft is growing, which is bad news for property owners. Number 9. A cabin. Chris Hempel owned a cabin by the lake in Spokane, which she was excited to return to in 2015. However, upon arrival, she discovered that the entire building had been cut from its foundation and stolen. Despite the impressive nature of the theft, the police were able to track down the cabin less than 10 miles away on someone else's property, and the thief was apprehended. While the Hempel hideaway was returned to its rightful owner, what is even more intriguing about this case is what wasn't taken. Number 8. A garden. Maurice Byrne was taking care of his late mother's home in North Wales when he noticed something shocking. The garden shed was missing. This wasn't a small shed. It was 6 by 8 feet, and witnesses said that several men managed to carry it out whole. But it wasn't as heavy as it could have been. The shed had been emptied of all its contents, including tools, furniture, and even a valuable electric mower. Whoever took the shed, they only wanted the shed and left everything else behind, leaving the 64-year-old Welshman completely puzzled. Up next, why rob a train when you can rob something even more unusual? Number 7. The strange case of the stolen train. Train robberies are not uncommon, but in Ukraine, thieves took it to a new level by stealing an entire historic steam locomotive from a museum. Although the train was no longer functional, the thieves used forged documents and a crane to move it from the museum before attaching it to another train and sending it to a scrap metal yard. Unfortunately, the locomotive was found in pieces at the scrapyard, and the culprits have yet to be identified. But compared to the next theft, cabins, sheds, and trains are just small potatoes. Number 6. Bridges. More than once. The Coverts Crossing Bridge in rural Lawrence County wasn't heavily trafficked, but its disappearance in 2011 was noticeable as it left a 50-foot gap. It was later discovered that 2 local men, the Jones brothers, had dismantled the bridge using a blowtorch and made off with the metal, which was estimated to be worth $100,000. However, concealing such a large amount of metal proved difficult, and the 2 thieves were soon apprehended. In Ukraine, 7 years prior, a 36-foot bridge had been stolen, stranding several villages on opposite sides of the river. The next heist on our list was quite valuable, although it might not be for the faint of heart. Number 5. Tanks of bull semen. In the cattle industry, few things are more valuable than genetically ideal bulls. The semen from these bulls can go for a lot of money, and in 2016, a trucker in Turlock, California, was transporting tanks of bull semen to a farm for breeding purposes. However, along the way, 3 tanks and a transfer tank disappeared from the back of his truck, leading people to wonder if there's a black market for bull semen. If such a market exists, the thieves should be cautious, because the cargo needs to be stored with liquid nitrogen to maintain its quality. Otherwise, they might end up with tanks of useless material. Number 4. Napoleon's penis. The story of the French emperor's stolen anatomy is certainly bizarre. After his death, his autopsy examiner kept a rather unique memento, the emperor's penis, and passed it on to a Corsican priest. Though over time the preserved part began to resemble beef jerky, it remained a prized possession for centuries, changing hands until it was bought by a urologist in 1977 and later inherited by his daughter. Despite offers of over $100,000, this infamous relic is not the only stolen body part to have made headlines. Number 3. Einstein's brain. Albert Einstein was undoubtedly a brilliant mind, and after his death in 1955, many scientists wanted to examine his brain to understand his genius. But one pathologist went a step further. Thomas Harvey, the doctor on call when Einstein passed away, took it upon himself to remove the brain without the family's consent. Despite years of study, Harvey found no conclusive evidence that could explain Einstein's brilliance. Ultimately, the brain was returned to researchers in 1978 after Harvey was caught. It seems that even in death, Einstein's secrets remain elusive. Number 2. A NASA rocket engine. NASA's oldest rockets may no longer be operational, but they hold significant historical value, making them a desirable acquisition for museums and apparently thieves. After a Saturn RL-10 rocket engine was stolen from NASA's base, suspicions of an inside job arose, and the case went cold until an online auction site listing for the engine surfaced. The thief was apprehended quickly, and NASA estimates the engine's worth to be around $200,000. Number 1. A whole beach. The Coral Springs Beach in Trelawney, Jamaica was once a breathtaking and idyllic location, with its white sands and crystal-clear blue waters designed to be the centerpiece of a massive new resort. However, the construction of the resort took a strange turn when the beach sand started to vanish. In July 2008, the beach was suddenly stripped bare, and over 500 truckloads of sand disappeared without a trace, leaving the authorities scratching their heads. Despite their efforts, the police were unable to make any headway, and the case remains a mystery to this day. The prime suspect in the heist was rival resorts that wanted to put the new competition out of business. However, given the complexity of the crime scene in the island nation and the deep-seated corruption in the construction business, the chances of the culprits being found are slim. With that said, thank you for watching. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more. And if you found this content helpful, give the video a like.